Hey, my beautiful folks. This is Meade Neumann with Renewed Spirit Healing, and I am finally back out in my garden again. And if you have been following any of the last few weeks, you know I was dealing with poison ivy. So I hadn't been able to get out into my garden and do anything in quite a while. It's lovely to be back. It's lovely to be healthy again. And what I'm finding on this side of the equation is some really neat, new, juicy pieces of the puzzle that I really wanted to share with you. Now, so many of us go through times where we decide that there's something that we want to do and we start making steps towards it. And then, inevitably, something happens and you suddenly aren't doing the steps that you decided that you wanted. Sometimes you notice it, sometimes you don't. When you have the opportunity and you do notice, it gives you an amazing opportunity to choose how you want to move forward. So, one of the things that I'm looking at, there were some choices that I had made in how I was approaching my garden, how I was approaching my life, how I was approaching inspiration. I get a chance now to look back on those choices and decide, have I changed in some way to make those less relevant? Has something in my reality altered that means that maybe I could tweak things just a little bit? In the garden, sometimes it's very noticeable. You go through some very basic standard things. If you want to plant seeds in the ground, you have to till the soil. If you want to make sure that those plants continue to grow, it's really, really helpful to weed. Tending the things, these things are basic steps that come to mind all the time, and they kind of shove themselves in your face and make you aware of them. But in life, sometimes we don't notice when we made a choice and it's no longer quite as relevant to the way we are living. We're very good at adapting. We're not necessarily very good at recalibrating. And the way the world is working these days, there are so many of these magnifying energies that are out there. It's making little changes drastically noticeable, drastically obvious. So I'm going to really encourage you guys to look at your life from a nurturing perspective. Where is it time to change the boundaries just a little bit? Where is it time to give yourself a little more space or a little less space? Maybe you've opened things up too much and you actually need to protect yourself a little bit better. Life has amazing opportunities. And every time you honor yourself by looking into those deepest, darkest places and find that what's there is more like rich loam and a whole lot less like hell, you are doing yourself a wonderful service. You are digging up the beautiful composted pieces of your life, the things that have had a chance to break down and leave you with only the pieces that you can use. Now, sometimes that means there's pain. We've all done something where we went to reach and pull on something and suddenly found that had a lot more pull back than you were expecting. Sometimes that's emotional, sometimes that's the garden. But give yourself a chance. Don't immediately judge yourself as having done a wrong thing or a bad thing. Give yourself a chance to look at what were you pulling on? What is that pain? What causes those pains? And where do you have an opportunity to make something new and beautiful in your life? Maybe you just need to use a different tool on that particular idea. Maybe it's time to ask a friend for help. But every time you get a chance to go back and look at your choices and your structure, you have an opportunity to make beautiful, positive change. It's up to you. You have the power to control what goes on in your life. I know that circumstances happen. I know things happen to us, but you are not a victim of circumstance. You have the power to choose how you respond to the events that come into your life. So, that's another note from my garden for today. Hopefully, I'm going to be getting out a lot more into my garden, and you'll get a lot more of these little videos. If you like what you're hearing here, make sure you tap on the subscribe button so that you actually get to hear about when I add new videos. You can find me on Facebook at Renewed Spirit Healing. You can find me on the web. My website is www.renewedspirithealing.com. And if you like the kinds of ways that I bring life into your perspective, then maybe it's time to get with me and set up a real program of life counseling, life coaching, energy healing. I bring the whole package together. So it's mind, body, and spirit, because when you balance the mind, the body, and the spirit, the natural action is health, prosperity, and happiness. So if that sounds like a wonderful idea, then maybe it's time for you to get in touch with me. Light's blessings to you all, my dears.